Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Big Brain Gameplay Lecture while we play XCOM 2 and talk about terrorism. This week, we are going to be talking about the Middle East and that rich cultural place that has also been rife with confrontation and conflict. But we're going to try to understand a little bit why, so good dive into the history. So stick around and let's get our class handed. Big caveat here. Everything that I'm going to talk about, there is much deeper dives that you can go into. I am only going to touch the surface because that's kind of all we really need to do. But hopefully, for those that know nothing, you'll come away with this knowing a little bit more than probably the average person. But hopefully after this little video here, you walk away going like, oh, I didn't know that. Some of this makes a little bit of sense to me. The source of all the conflict is very human. It's no different than the Irish and the British, really. And much like the Irish and the British, it's all the British fault. So, the Middle East. What about the Middle East are we going to talk about today? As we get into our mission, Operation Bone Fort. Bone Fort is ready. Bonesaw is ready. So what do we need to talk about? Well, there's two primary things that we need to talk about, because there's two things that kind of really play a major role in everything. And that is, one, Islam and the primary conflict with regards to Islam. And then two, Israel and the primary conflict with regards to Israel. So those are the two primary things that we're going to be talking about as we proceed into Operation Bone Fort. Bone Fort is ready. I got you for 3 minutes.
I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of playtime!
Islam. What is it? I am not an expert in Islam. I don't want to portray myself as one. However, having looked into the creation of Islam and what it is, I feel like I know more about Islam than the average American. Because I took the time to just kind of objectively look at Islam and be like, what is it, right? Primarily, it is the youngest of the three Abrahamic religions. And so it's tangentially related to Christianity and Judaism. Because of those three religions, they all worship the same God. All right. And it was once explained to me this way, and I love this explanation of it, is that if Judaism is the original, Christianity is the sequel, and Islam is the reboot. It's actually a fairly accurate way to describe the three. But let's talk about Islam specifically and why it's important in the Middle East, and why it also is a kind of one of the sources of tension and friction between major groups. So what is the primary difference? I guess we'll start with that, with Islam. It's primarily Muhammad, who is the last and greatest of God's prophets, according to Islam. All right. Islam acknowledges everybody talked about in the Bible and the Torah, right, or the Old Testament of the Bible. What it doesn't recognize is, and much this is actually it shares in common with Judaism, is that Jesus Christ was not the Son of God. In Islam, Jesus is actually a fairly important prophet, but not the Son of God. Whereas Muhammad is the last and greatest of God's prophets, given the word of God by the angel Gabriel. The thing is, though, is what differentiates Muhammad from Jesus or from Abraham in Judaism is that Muhammad was more so than just a religious leader. He was also a political and military leader as well, fairly important to the Arab world. Led the Arabs to essentially one of the largest human empires. And so, when stacking up empires throughout history, you have to include the first kind of caliphate, Arab caliphate, in the conversation, alongside Rome, alongside the Mongol Empire, right, of Genghis Khan, and all, you have to include it, because it took basically from the top of North Africa all the way into Mongolia, and then up into Turkey and all the way down to the bottom of Saudi Arabia. It was a massive, massive, massive empire. And I realize I'm reaching way off camera and you can't actually see where my hands are going. The problem is that, it was he was a leader of, he kind of gathered together all of these tribes in the Arab world, because the Arab world back when, in the 600s, was consistent of mainly nomadic tribes. He was able to gather them together, but because he was such a prominent figure, obviously, it came to be that when he died, there would be a question of who takes over after him. And this is the primary source of conflict in the Arab world today. Continues into today, actually. He didn't like war much. He had a bad impression of it imprinted. This is true, Saiyans. You are absolutely right. I should correct myself. When I said military leader, it's not that like he was expansionary in his views. No, absolutely not. He did conquer Mecca, and Mecca is one of the more important places in the Islamic world. But yeah, he wasn't like a conqueror. But he did help lead the tribes together militarily. But yeah, war wasn't... No. Again, Islam primarily espouses peace and, good treatment, much like Christianity and Judaism, even though, Christianity and Judaism also have kind of their violent backgrounds. But the first major source of conflict comes from the Muhammad dies. Who takes over after him? Well, there were like rules in the Arab world that like it would generally be, there was like a lineage, like you would have an heir and they would take over after you. Oh shit. All right, as long as she doesn't move, I think she's okay. And Irina. Ooh. All right. Do that and remove the walls. So they drop and they don't have cover. It's gonna be genius. Engage. Nice. Taking this thing out first is gonna be fucking key. Boom. That's alright, because you're gonna kill him. Voice. First source of conflict. Muhammad dies. Who takes after? There were two people who were like up for grabs. The first being Ali, who was Muhammad's cousin and adopted son. The people who did take over his name was Abu Bakr. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Abubakr. But he takes over first, and following Abu were what were known as the four rightly guided caliphs. And this is the first split, because you have people who agree that the lineage proceeded appropriately, and then you have the people who are upset that Ali wasn't the immediate heir. And this is the primary difference between Sunni and Shiite Muslims. Sunnis believed that four rightly guided caliphs that was the proper lineage. That's what Muhammad wanted, and everything's all well and good. Shiites believed that Ali should have been the first heir. Ali got his chance after the first four, but the caliphs, nothing really ended well for them. They all got assassinated. But throughout their tenure, they helped expand the Islamic world and that Arab empire worldwide, like Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide.
So that's first split. That's the primary source. That's one of the primary sources of conflict in the Middle East presently. But it's not the only one, right? That happened way back in the 600s. Okay, so this is, and then the Middle East becomes rife with conflict during the Middle Ages because Christians believe that no, we have to take over the Promised Land and this is ours, and so they go fight and they launch the Crusades and all of that. What else influences kind of conflict within the Middle East? Well, there's two primary big changes that are again sources of conflict. The first kind of big change was the fall of the Ottoman Empire. So we have to fast forward a lot, right? We talk about Muhammad and the troubles in succession there back in the 600s, and now we're fast forwarding all the way to like 1918. Like obviously there's a lot that happened in between, but for present day Middle East, these are the two things that primarily are the sources of conflict. All of the Ottoman Empire and the Zionist movement that started in the late 1800s and continued up until like the 50s. This gets us into, though, our kind of second topic of the day, and that is talking about Israel. Let's fast forward. We're going to fast forward to like 1918. No, it's 1916. Excuse me. World War I is actually a major kind of source of a lot of this conflict. World War I starts, right? And for a variety of reasons, all of the nations get involved, and most of it is due to nationalism and all of that. They're just going to fire the pistol. Come on, Kyle, don't miss. There we go. Now, hopefully, a grenade will remove that from the battle. Oh, no, it's only... Oh, you're just gonna... Oh, you dropped... Okay, nope, what are you gonna do? You ran? Right. World War I starts, and as a result, she actually did a really good job. We may be able to remove him from the battlefield soon. World War I starts, and you have a mass exodus of European Jews back to the Middle East. So I can open this, right? Good. Now I should... Oh, yeah, do it. Remove. The Jews start moving back into Israel. And they do it by purchasing land primarily off of Palestinians. When they start doing this, they start kind of coalescing their plots of land and start trying to self-govern, which was upsetting to the Arabs that, you know, were living there. 42%. Come on, just do me a solid. And... Yes, Irina, you're like... You died and you came back. This continues to happen for several years, and as the Jewish peoples continue to gain land, the Arab world starts kind of fighting against them, and they do it, you know, through it. It becomes kind of like, you know, asymmetrical terror, where you have these tiny kind of conflicts happening. Open. The Jewish people, or at least a portion of them, realize that we are going to go for the large intel. Realize that they kind of need to fight back. And so they form a group called the Irgun. The Irgun starts launching what we would consider more traditional terrorist attacks against the Arab world. And they do that basically for the next 20-some years, right? They believed that violence was the only way to establish a Jewish state. And this violence continues up until 1945, when the Irgun launches essentially what is a campaign of terror, of urban terror within Jerusalem, in urban centers, while also trying to launch this international kind of sympathy campaign, like, ooh, feel bad for us, as we, you know, attack and kill people. 1947, the Irgun terror campaign has been going on for a little bit, and the UN finally has had enough. And it portions a part of Palestine to the Jewish people. It says, all right, Palestinians, you are going to have this portion, and Jewish peoples, you are going to have this portion. And the UN just creates Israel in 1948. Now, alongside this, a couple of other Arab states are also created, primarily by just like the Europeans being like, ooh, we know better, and they just create a bunch of states. Included in that is Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the Gulf states. And in 1948, Israel is created because the Europeans are just like, we deem it so. The land was under British mandates, under the mandate of Palestine. But then the UN was like, well, we'll give a portion of it to the Jews to stop the violence. That's essentially what happened. That's how Israel came to be. Well, obviously that upset most of the Arab world, because all of a sudden, like, well, you just throw a hissy fit and then you get a bunch of land. Again, violence kind of ensues between the years of 1947 and 1967. Sporadic little conflicts continue to persist within the Arab world between Israel, what is now Israel, and the rest of the Arab world until 1967, when, you know, Israel had been slowly building up its forces, slowly over time, until 1967, when it launches the State War. Israel fucking blows through Egypt. They go from the borders that had been given to them by the UN, launches a preemptive war. At the end of the war, Israel occupied the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, and the west bank of the Jordan River. And it also occupied Jerusalem, which it wasn't supposed to occupy. This Six-Day War embarrasses Egypt, Jordan, all of the other Arab states, and tensions rise. And so at this point, Israel has kind of proven itself as a force to be reckoned with in the area. And so now there are a bunch of Arab states, Egypt, Jordan, who are becoming friendlier with the West, who are like, well, maybe we'll kind of negotiate with Israel. And there are a couple other states who are still like, no, like the Basque Party, which is starting to prop up around this time, creates this resistance movement against Israel. And then you also have other states that are like verbally against Israel, but kind of like backdoor negotiating with Israel. 1973 comes along, however, and the Arab world launches the Yom Kippur War. it essentially pushes the Israelis back the land that they held prior to the Six-Day War. So there was this short little tug of war. In 1967, the Israelis push across into Egypt, and then 1973 comes and they get pushed all the way back, and the lines stabilize. And it's kind of been those lines ever since, with the Israel slowly pushing more and more into Palestine a little bit. And as a result of that, that's kind of where the tensions lie, right? You have these constant sort of like bad feelings. Now, Egypt and Jordan kind of like, they've retained some of their honor, I guess, by fighting against and pushing Israel back across their borders. But there's still the feelings of resentment that they even needed to do that. That's where we're at today. That's really all I needed to talk about. So I'm just going to finish this mission, and then we're going to do a little wrap up. Oh, we need to go that way. Where? Do it. Yes. 53. You should be able to do it. If you don't, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. Nice. My team is mostly women right now. I kind of love it. All right, you need to just run. There was a door right there. Extract this guy out. And this is it. We're just extracting. Middle East with the kind of tensions in Islam and the tensions between Israel and the rest of the Arab world. That's kind of where we stand today. That's hopefully the origin. Look at that. Flawless. That's our first flawless. Yes.
Flawless victory.
Corporal Arena Popova, new record for average damage per attack because she never did any damage before. So, hopefully now, after this broad brushstrokes video, you know a little bit more about the Middle East, the tensions of Islam and the tensions of Israel and the rest of the Arab world. If I've been mischaracterizing or misleading in any way, please let me know in the comments and I would gladly fix it. Other than that, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We do record these lectures every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/FBEskra. For now, I have been your Professor FBEskra. Class dismissed.